Unstoppable means with God, you can do anything.
Unstoppable means you have the power in you that you can do anything, even whenever it's really hard.
My only goal is to finish the race. I want to complete the work Lord Jesus has given me. He wants me to tell others about the good news of God's grace, Acts 20:24.
I brought my gift, which is my money, because it really helps for the church and all of the people around who might need it, since it's going to the mission. So I think this is my gift, is my money.
I want to be unstoppable because I care about people outside myself.
Being unstoppable for Christ and through Compass, for me, means leading others through Christ through my actions and being generous with my time and with my money.
I'm planning to be generous for Unstoppable Compass by donating $5 a month. I hope everyone else can do the same and maybe volunteer for work at anywhere else that you can be.
I'm planning on being generous by giving 10% of each paycheck I get.
This money is going to a good purpose, and I think the kids and people that this money is going to is more deserving than me. And I got this money because of my birthday that just happened, and I thought it was a better idea to give it to them than me keeping it.
Unstoppable generosity means students like me who didn't grow up in a church now are able to go to a church and have unstoppable worship.
Woo. Man, I don't know about you, but between the worship and seeing those students who have already made that commitment and our kids who have already made a commitment to Unstoppable, I am fired up this morning, and I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to Compass. Our mission is navigating people to God. My name is Nate, and I'm one of the pastors. So glad that you're worshiping with us. You know, I heard this story about two guys who got stranded on an island. The one guy, he was panicked because he thought he was going to end up living the rest of his life there, that he was going to die there. Well, the other guy, he was kind of just chilling. He had his, well, I guess nobody wants to hear from me right now. Anyway. All right. Anyway, where was I at? All right. Hey, well, there was another guy. So he was chilling on the island and he's sunbathing and he was in the sand and enjoying the rays and everything. And the first guy said to the second guy, he was like, he's like, aren't you afraid that you're going to die? And the second guy's like, nope, I'm not scared. And the first guy's like, why aren't you scared? And the second guy goes, well, you see, I make $10,000 a week. I give every single week to my church. And this weekend is commitment weekend. So my pastor is going to find me, right? All right. Some of you, it's clicking. All right. There we go. Now, in all seriousness, I'm glad that I didn't have to go out in search of you. I'm glad that you made it today. And if you're a guest, man, as I said, so glad that you're here and that you're a part of this today, that you get to hear what we believe we're called to do as the church and what we're called to do to be like this Acts 2 church that we see and we've been studying. Because listen, it goes without saying, what is going to happen today has the potential to change the landscape of DFW for Jesus. That's not an understatement. I want you to understand that what we do today, it matters that much. What happens today across all of our Compass campuses, this is happening everywhere and online, it ultimately has the potential to change the trajectory of many people's lives, both here in DFW and across the world. And so today's a huge day for Compass. Today's a huge day for Compass North Fort Worth. And there's a few things that I want to share with you today. But the first thing I want to do is I want you, when you came in today, there should have been one of these cards on your seat. I want you to grab that card right now and just keep it close by, all right? Because we're going to be talking about this card. But I'm going to ask those of you who call Compass your church home, I'm going to ask you to put a number on this card in just a few minutes. And for those of you who are new, like you just get to be a part of this today. We're not asking you to do that. If you want to do that, we're not going to deny your card, okay? But what I'm asking those of you who call Compass your church home, both in person, those of you online, is that I would ask you at the end of this message today to take a bold, courageous, and unstoppable step of faith to help us move forward this mission that God has called us to here at Compass. And so I got to tell you, I'm so excited to see God move in this place today, online today, and even later today. Hey, for those of you who are online, maybe you want to give a card as a physical opportunity to drop it off somewhere today from 4 to 6. We're going to be at the property where the new building is going up right now, and we'll be there. You can drive through. We'll pray for you. We'll accept your cards there. You can even take a look at the building while you're there. So even if you drop off a card today and you're like, I want to go check out the building, come between 4 and 6 tonight. We'll be there. Our staff will be there. We'd love for you to join us for that. But through Unstoppable, what we've been doing is we've been studying through the book of Acts. And it's in the book of Acts that we see Jesus, he commissions his early followers. Jesus is resurrected from the dead, and right before he's getting ready to ascend into heaven, he commissions them to go out to spread this message everywhere that he goes. And so what we've been studying and what we've been talking about through this whole 6-week series is how that church, this early church in Acts, was truly unstoppable, and that we want to be just like the church that we see in Acts. And so we're going to continue in this study today. We're actually going to be in Acts chapter 20. If you've got a Bible or a Bible app, you can turn with me to Acts chapter 20 there. And it's in Acts 20, we see Paul, who's kind of the guy who's moving this mission forward and this message forward. He's telling people about Jesus everywhere. We see Paul giving kind of a farewell address to some early believers living in this area called Ephesus. He knows that this is probably the last time that he's going to see them. And so I want to pick up starting in verse 25 and look at what Paul says to them here. He says this, "And now I know that none of you to whom I have preached the kingdom will ever see me again." Now stop there for a minute because I want you to understand, Paul is saying goodbye here. He's saying like, this is his farewell address because he knows that based upon the opposition that he's experienced everywhere that he's gone and everywhere he's shared the message of Jesus, there's a pretty good chance that he's never going to see these people in person again. And so with this final words, he says this in verses 32 to 37, we're going to pick back up. Listen to what Paul says next. He says, "And now I entrust you to God and the message of his grace that is able to build you up and give you an inheritance with all those he has set apart for himself. I have never coveted anyone's silver or gold or fine clothes. You know, that these hands of mine have worked to supply my own needs and even the needs of those who were with me. And I have been a constant example of how you can help those in need by working hard." And then Paul says this, and this is where we're going to spend our time today. He says this, "You should remember the words of the Lord Jesus. It's more blessed to give than to receive." Now, I'm going to break this down here in a minute. But when he finished speaking, he knelt, he prayed with them. They all cried, they embraced and kissed, and they said goodbye. And so Paul's last words to these early Christians are this, is believe the gospel and live radically generous lives. Now the question is, why would Paul say this? Knowing that this is the last time that he's ever going to share with them, why does Paul say what he does? Why does he talk about the gospel and generosity? What is the connection here? Well, for Paul, the connection is really clear. He's saying, listen, if you are a sinner who knows that you have been saved by grace, you know that Jesus has died for you, then what he's saying is that you will want to live these radically generous lives. It's grace that has saved us, that offers us this spiritual inheritance. It's grace that has saved us, that gives us the chance to enter into eternity, into heaven with God. And when we understand the inheritance that has been given to us through Jesus' sacrifice, then what Paul is getting at here is that we should want to do and we should want to be generous with what we have. Now the reason that Paul ends by talking about giving and being generous is this, is maybe you've never thought about this before, but you know what? Nobody ever thinks that they're greedy, right? It's just not something that comes to our mind. The reason that he says, watch out for greediness is none of us think that's us. The reason he doesn't end his message by saying, don't lie or cheat or steal or lust or commit adultery or anything like that is because we know when we're doing those things, right? Like if you went to Target today and you grabbed a couple of shirts off the rack and you put them on and you just walked out of Target and nobody caught you and you got home and somebody said, hey, where'd you get the new shirts? And you were like, I just stole them off the rack, right? Like we know when we do those things. We might not admit it at first like that, but when it comes to stuff like lust or lying or cheating or stealing, we know we're doing it and we know it's a problem. But, in all my years of being a pastor, and I've been a pastor for almost 20 years now, that people come into my office all the time, they want me to counsel them in certain things in their life. You know what? Nobody has ever said to me when they've come into my office, nobody has ever walked in and sat down in the chair and go, you know what, Pastor Nate, I am the greediest person in the world. I love just spending money on myself. I've never heard anybody say that. But this is why Jesus talked about money more than anything else, because he knew that money is this huge issue for us, that greed is a problem that nobody thinks that we have. And if Jesus says it's a problem, then here's the thing for us, that we should probably listen to what Jesus is saying, because it's probably a problem. And listen, I'll admit this, like I want you to hear this today. I'm not just saying that greed is a problem you have. Greed is a problem that I have. I struggle with this. In my life, even throughout ministry, there have been times where Amanda and I, we have not had much. And there have been times where I want to be greedy. I don't want to be greedy. I want to be generous. I want to give to other people, but it just didn't seem like there was anything left. And so being generous for me has taken some serious effort. Now, you know what doesn't take much effort for me? Just pulling out my phone, going to the Nike sneaker app and hitting add to cart and add another pair of Air Jordans to the cart. Because, I got to be honest with you, I don't mind having another pair of Air Jordans. In my mind, you can never have enough Air Jordans in your collection, right? And I got to be honest, too. I kind of like that you have all kind of tagged me as the preachers and sneakers pastor in the North Fort Worth area, because you recognize I got a strong shoe game, all right? And I appreciate that, right? And so I'm trying to represent for you because I don't want to let you down. But so I always feel like I got to add another pair of Air Jordans to the cart. Now, some of you are like, I would never wear Air Jordans. I'm just not cool enough. Give me the Reebok pumps, right? That's you, right? Some of you, that's where you're at. You're like, shoes aren't for me. But I think for you, maybe it's something else. And maybe I'm going to step on some toes today. Maybe it's hunting gear. Maybe it's musical equipment. Maybe it's jewelry. Maybe it's the nice cars that you have. Maybe it's those gadgets, you always have to have the latest and greatest gadget. Maybe for you it's that Louis Vuitton or Michael Kors handbag. We can all probably think of something that's so easy for us to not even think about when it comes to acquiring, right? And you see, if we're not careful, you can get to this point where you don't have money anymore, but money has you. And listen, here's what this shows us, and this is what we've got to get. Money is not the idol. It's the thing that money buys that you get the approval from that's the idol. Now, for some of you, you're like, well, good news, Pastor Nate, that's not me, because I don't need any of that stuff. I don't like to buy anything. I save all my money. I'm the most frugal person that you'd ever know. I don't need a nice house or car or clothes or stuff like that. And so for you, you're wealthy and nobody would even know it. You're proud of how frugal you are. But here's the thing. The reason why you don't give, or maybe the reason why you're not generous at the proportion you ought to be or you can be, is because you're simply trying to control your own environments. You don't need the approval that comes from having a whole bunch of stuff. You don't need the power that comes from having wealth. For you, your problem is a control problem. For you, having money allows you to say, I'm in control of my world. And so listen, for all of us, whether it's acquiring stuff or it's just making sure that I have more wealth so I have power, or it's maybe just so I can control my environments, what we have to understand is this. When it comes to money, money is not the idol. Money always shows you where your idols are. Money will always be in service to your idol. In fact, I like this definition of an idol in the dictionary. It says this: an idol is an object of extreme devotion. It's so true, right? It shows you what you're devoted to. Because here's what I could do. I could send you home today and give you an exercise. Why don't you go home, take a look at your credit card statement or your bank account and see where you're spending your money. And what it would tell you is it would show where your devotion lies. That's why Jesus, in the Sermon on the Mount, he said this in Matthew 6:21. He says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Your money will show you what you truly treasure. So look, you and I, we will be generous to the degree that our heart is free from these false idols. And you'll know when your heart is free. You want to know how? You'll be willing to give like crazy. Your money won't have a hold of you. So the question is, how do we break free from the power that money can have a hold of in our lives? Now, if you grew up in the church or you've been to church before, maybe you're like, great, another church talking about money today. Maybe you're thinking I'm going to say something like maybe something you've heard before, like maybe you've heard this before. If you don't give, God's going to get you, right? Like I could say that today and just try to appeal to your will, but that's not the way to go. Or I could say, let me show you some pictures of some people who are in need. They don't have much, and maybe they look a little bit malnourished. Right? And Sarah McLaughlin's Arms of the Angels is playing while I'm showing you those pictures. Yeah, I could try to play with your emotions today, but I'm not going to do that. Or I could say, you know what? If you give to this, you're not going to believe how much God is going to bless you. The investment, because of your generosity, you're going to have more than you ever imagined. And I could try to appeal to your mind, but here's the problem with all these things. They all fall short of dealing with your heart. And so look, if you're ever going to heal the world through your giving, it starts here. It starts in your heart. And I know what you're thinking. So how do I do that? How do I change my heart so that I can be generous and that greed doesn't have a hold of me anymore? I want to give you one word today that I think can change everything for all of us. And the word we have to understand is this word grace. You see, when you truly understand grace in the way that I want to define it here in a minute, it will make you want to commit to giving. And look, whether you're a follower of Christ or not, maybe this is your first time. You're new to this whole Christianity thing and Jesus, you're just exploring it. I hope that you leave here today, if you don't understand anything else, you understand this word grace maybe better than you ever have. And here's the grace that God offers to us. This is what it means. Grace is God's riches at Christ's expense. Not God's riches at our expense. It's God's riches at Christ's expense. I know it seems pretty basic, but that when you understand that, you understand what God has done for you. You see, every other treasure other than Jesus will enslave you. Like if you think you've got to have a bigger home, you've got to have that nicer car, or you've got to keep up with the Joneses, or you've got to have the power that comes with that title, or you need beauty, or you just need to be the best at your job. If you have those things, then you're okay. Like those things will enslave you. If you treasure those things, that treasure will run your life. Because what happens is you have to have them. And what happens is you'll panic if you don't have them in your life. You'll do anything. You'll cut corners. You'll lie. You'll stab people in the back because you're in your mind, you're like, I've got to have this. I need this in my life. And so if greed has a hold of you, understand this, it will enslave you. You know, a couple of weeks ago, right before Snowmageddon hit, or Snowvid, or whatever we're calling that thing that happened a few weeks ago, I had decided I was going to sell some collectible items that I had and give the money that I made off of those items to Unstoppable, because honestly, I was convicted by this one box in the commitment card. It's this one that says gifts from my stored resources. And so I decided I needed to get rid of some of the stuff that I had. And so I went to my wife, Amanda, one day, and I was like, hey, some of that stuff that I have that we've been moving everywhere we go, I'm going to get rid of it. And she looked at me and she was like, are you sure? Really? Are you really going to do it? Like, I knew secretly in her head, like the Hallelujah chorus was going off because I was finally getting rid of some of that stuff, right? And so I decided to put this stuff on these collector sites, and I got the money that I was looking for selling them, and the money came in, and then I shipped all the stuff out right before Snowmageddon hits. And then Snowmageddon hits, and our house doesn't have power for 70 hours or so. And so we walk back in when the power finally comes on, and I walk into our guest room, and the carpet's wet. And this, you know, and then outside of our house, the new tankless water heater that's only 2 months old is spewing water out of it. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I've got a big problem here, right? And so I began to think about this. I called a plumber and I'm like, I got to get this fixed right away. The plumber comes out, gives me an estimate. It's almost the exact amount of the money that I just made off of selling all those collectible items. And so honestly, as I thought about it, I was like, I'm just going to use that money to pay for the repairs of my house. And I wrestled with this some, but then I realized what I was doing was I was allowing the cost of that water heater to enslave me and keep me from being generous, like I've been encouraging you all to do, and I've been talking about through this whole series. And so I had to settle in my mind in that moment that that's exactly what the enemy wanted me to do. He wanted me to hold on to what I had and let that greed enslave me. And so I told my wife, Amanda, I said, I think this is a test, and I don't like failing tests, so I'm not going to fail this test. I'm going to trust. I'm going to let God be in control, and I'm not going to allow this greed to enslave me. And so I want you to know that money that I used, that I received from selling those things, I'm going to give to Unstoppable. I'm not going to use it to pay off the debt that I have on those tankless water heaters, because I believe God's called me to be generous. And you see, all the treasures outside of Jesus demand that you do anything and everything to get them and keep them. But the opposite is true of Jesus. Jesus did anything and everything to get you. He died to purchase you. That's what grace means. All the other treasures, they will demand that you go to the mat for them. But Jesus, he went to the mat for you and for me. He died to purchase you. And you see, your career, a bigger house, more wealth, those things, they won't die for your sins. But Jesus did. Jesus was willing to pay the ultimate price for you and for me. And you know why? Because he didn't have to. He could have said, you know what, I'm good, God. I like up here. I like the power that I have. I like the control that I have. I got the whole world in my hands, God. He didn't have to come. But he came. And you know why he came? Because there was only one thing that he didn't have. And that was you. It was me. He didn't have to come to the earth. But he came because if he didn't come, he would have lost us. By coming to this earth, it cost him a whole lot. By coming to this earth, it cost him his glory. By going to the cross, it cost him his life. By going to the cross and dying, it cost him his Father. By going to the cross, it cost him everything. And listen, if we truly grasp this, I think what happens is it changes everything. Because what you come to understand is this, is that you and I were more valuable to him than the entire universe. What you come to understand is that we are his treasure. And we are the thing that drives him, not anything else. And so, when I think about what Jesus did for you, what he did for me in light of all that he gave up, it challenges me to make me and want me to be the thing that, want me to be the thing that he treasures most. I want to treasure that as him as most as my life. And the same should be true of all of us who call ourselves followers of Christ. You see, when you understand that you are the ultimate treasure to Jesus, it should cause you to make him the ultimate treasure of your life. And if you'll do that, then all these other things won't be as important. They'll just be nice things, but they won't be the most important things. And I'm talking to myself in this, all right? I understand that means I don't need another pair of Air Jordans for a while, right? But what happens is when you understand this, your money is free. And your money can be used to heal the world, and you'll be unstoppable with your generosity. When you understand grace, you'll find freedom. Because listen, if you believe that you're going to heaven just because you're a good person, then you have no idea what Jesus really did for you. But if you understand the cost that Christ paid, the more free you'll be to heal the world with your giving. And what you'll find is what Paul says in these verses that we looked at earlier, that it's more blessed to give than it is to receive. So here's what I want you to do right now. I want you to pull out that card. If you're sitting by your spouse, maybe hold on to this card together. I know some of you came in here today, you've had this card for several weeks, and you came in and you already have a number that's written down in this box. For others of you, you're getting ready. You've been thinking about this whole service about what you're going to put in that box, and you're going to write a number there. For those of you online, you've already clicked on the digital form there, and you're filling it out, or you're going to fill it out here in a minute. But I want to ask you a question, and I want you to think about this question over the next few minutes as we head towards giving our commitments to God. The question I want to ask you today is this. Does the number on this card truly reflect that Jesus is number one in your life and you're boldly trusting him with courageous, bold, and unstoppable faith? You know, just a little over a week ago, Friday night, we had about 500 people who joined us in person and another couple hundred who joined us online at Advanced Commitment Night. And it was an incredible night. I got to tell you, I'm so excited about what God did that night. And our leadership is so blown away by what God did that night. And if their sacrifice is any indication of what God wants to do here through Unstoppable, man, we are in for an incredible couple years ahead. Now, the heart of this night was all about leading out. It was like being like the leaders in David's day that Pastor Drew talked about on that night that we read about in 1 Chronicles 29, who made commitments to God. And so on that night, we asked those who were there to share the heart behind their commitments, and we wanted you to hear some of their stories. Take a look at this.
For me, the unstoppable commitment means making a commitment to ensure that people for many, many years to come will be able to know Christ and seek Christ.
So I came to Compass in 2018 and I instantly felt at home. Immediately I joined Rooted. I am on fire for Jesus and I am completely unstoppable. I love Compass and I can't wait to bring more people to Compass and more people to Christ.
The unstoppable commitment really kind of challenged us. This was a really big leap of faith for us to just say, God, we trust you. No matter what happens, no matter what's going on in the world, we can stand together and he'll be able to provide what he needs to be able to do to make this happen.
For us, this unstoppable commitment means continuing our legacy. We have 2 little boys at home and we look forward to having them grow up in our church here at Compass. This is our family. We're excited for the future.
2 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit Compass. I fell in love with the worship and the people, and it's all because of Compass that I was able to come back and have a relationship with the Lord and other people that I needed to have.
I have people that are here tonight that helped change my life, that have prayed around me, have laughed with me, have loved me.
What unstoppable means is just stepping out in faith, especially in a time of just great uncertainty.
Unstoppable commitment just means stepping out into territory that you're not familiar with. And as a family, our commitment's going to be to give back to the church what they have done for us and my family, and just being there for Compass as God has been there for us.
This unstoppable commitment means person after person after person gets to know about the love of Jesus and that it can cover any hardship, any brokenness in their whole life.
It's so great to be part of a church that gives globally, that impacts the world no matter what's happening in the world. And that's really important to us. We've been blessed and it's our job to be a blessing to others.
It's going to broaden my reach, our church's reach into the world. So whatever I give, it's going to be multiplied more and more.
Our family were missionaries in Africa, supported by this church, by people who gave and made commitments in the past. And what this unstoppable commitment means to me and my family is that God has not stopped surprising us. God has not stopped doing greater and greater things, and our best days are ahead of us.
Knowing that I serve an unstoppable God has made all the difference.
God has been completely unstoppable in our marriage, and he will make us unstoppable over the next 2 years and beyond.
We are together unstoppable.
Unstoppable. We are unstoppable.
Man, I got to tell you, I'm so inspired by those stories and just so inspired about what God's people have been doing here at Compass already. And now it's our turn. It's our turn to commit together across all of our campuses. We're all doing this today and online. It's about 100% of us engaging in this. So what I want you to do is grab that card, get it ready. And as you get that card ready, I want to share with you a few things today. You know, my wife Amanda and I, over the last several months, we've known about Unstoppable for a while. We've been praying about what is it, God, that you want us to do? What does it look like? And so I just want to share 3 things with you that I can assure that Amanda and I have been praying about and that represent our commitment today. The first thing I will share is this, is it represents a sacrifice on our part. You know, we said during this series that sacrifice is giving up something you love for something that you love more. And I got to tell you, we love Compass so much. We love Compass North Fort Worth so much. It's the largest gift that Amanda and I have ever been able to give to the local church. And we are so grateful that God has blessed us in so many ways. And today it's with this unstoppable faith and great joy that we bring it to God. And there are 3 factors that determined this decision for us to be unstoppable as a family. The first thing I will say is this, is a gift. It's a gift well above the tithe of our regular base salaries. The second thing I will say is this, it's a love gift back to God for everything that he has blessed us with. You know, when my family and I, we decided to move from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Fort Worth, Texas, North Fort Worth to start Compass North Fort Worth 3 years ago, we had no idea what God was going to do. We weren't even sure what we were really doing. We were just like trusting God. And I got to tell you, God has shown up. He has blessed us in more ways than we could ever imagine. And we are so grateful for this church. We are so grateful for North Fort Worth. We are so grateful for so many of you because this is our home. And we love what God is doing here. The third thing I will say is this is a demonstration to God that he's never done working on us, and that we want each season to represent a deeper and larger commitment to him. And I'll be honest with you, like this commitment that we're making today is going to stretch us. It truly is a sacrifice. And we've got our son Blake, he's only 2 years away from going to college, so it'd be a whole lot easier to just store that money back and pay for college. But now, Blake, it's on you, man. You got to get that basketball scholarship, all right? You know, we know it's not by our own ability that we can do this. It's by God's grace and his provision. And so as you look at this card today and as you prepare to write a number down, I want to invite you to this today. I want you to remember a couple of things. The first thing I want to say today is this: what we do here today, it matters. Not just for us, not just so that we would be unstoppable in our generosity, but it matters in changing the lives of people across DFW, across the globe. We want to be unstoppable. We want to see dead bones brought back to life. We want to see lives changed. We want to see families restored. We want to see marriages healed. That's what this is about. So what we do today, it matters. It changes things, and it will change people's lives if we decide to be generous. The second thing I would say is this commitment that you're making today is your total commitment to Compass over the next 2 years, from March 2021 to March 2023. And so if you're someone here who's already committing X amount of dollars to Compass over a 2-year period, then you include that number in the total in this last box here. But you also include the gift that you're going to give above and beyond, that bold step of faith that you're taking. And that's your total giving to Unstoppable these next 2 years, not just the extra. For some of you here today, man, this is an exciting day for you. This is the first time that you have ever given a gift to God. This is maybe your first time giving to Compass. And if that's you, man, I am so excited for you. I'm so excited that you're taking that step of faith and you're being bold in your generosity. And we want you to know that God is filled with joy because you're taking that step of faith today. For others of you here today, you're choosing to no longer live out of excess. You've been giving at what you thought was a high amount for quite some time. You may have even been tithing for years, but today you're deciding to be unstoppable. Take this unstoppable step of faith and give up something of true sacrifice. Today is about surrender for you because you love this church. You love what God has done for you, and you want to give back to him. For some of us, that might mean a significant 5, 6, or 7-figure gift that maybe you never thought possible. And I want to challenge you to that today. That is what unstoppable generosity looks like for you. It seems scary, it seems impossible, but I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you to that today. And I want to say this as well, that Amanda and I, we are standing alongside of you in making one of those gifts today. You know, as I mentioned before, this card, you don't have to fill it all out. The only number that really matters, the only box that matters is this last box here. This card is just a worksheet to help you kind of work through that if that's how you like to visualize things. But the last box is the most important, and that is your total commitment to Compass over the next 2 years. It's my prayer that every single person in this room, those of you who commit online, you would do it with this boldness today, that you would step out in faith today. And so in just a minute, I'm going to invite you. You're going to be able to come to the front if you're in the room. If you're online, you can click the submit button once you've filled that all out. Or if you're online and you'd rather fill out a physical card in a COVID-safe environment, then we're going to be out at the property tonight from 4 to 6 p.m. We'd love for you to drive up. We'll take your commitment cards there, and we'd love for you to pray over you. If you're in the room and you're like, I just want to go check out the building and see how things are going, come on out. We'll be there 4 to 6 tonight. But this today is us stepping out in faith. This is God asking us to be generous because he has been generous to us. And so now is the time. So in just a minute, the band's going to come back and they're going to play this song that we opened today with. And it's with this excitement and this joy that we are going to bring our gifts to God. And we're going to share in this time of worship to God. And we're going to celebrate what God is calling us to today. And so right now, what I want you to do is just for the next few minutes, I want you to just think about, to pray about, and write what that number looks like for you. What does unstoppable generosity mean for you? What does it look like for your family? And then I'll come back up in a minute and I'll give you some final instructions about how we're going to take these commitment cards up today. And so just right now with your spouse or with your family, take some time to think and pray and write about this. All right, Compass, now's the time. God has called us to be unstoppable. And so right now, what I want to invite you to do is just stand where you're at. We're going to sing this song together. And as we sing this song together today, may you just bring these cards forward to one of these baskets. We've got baskets on both sides of the stage here, to my left and to my right. And Amanda and I are going to lead out in this, and we're going to make this commitment today, and we're inviting you to follow suit in that as well. And so as we sing today, we invite you to bring those gifts with joy, and we celebrate what God has done, but what is still yet to come. It's going to be incredible to see what God does through Unstoppable because we choose to be generous. So would you be unstoppable with us today?